Welcome to Season 5 of Learning Unlocked. I'm your host, Britt Bingold. As an instructional specialist in Gilbert, Arizona, I'm a total nerd when it comes to classroom strategies and educational pedagogy. Educators are the key holders to unlocking learning for students. Today, my goal is to provide you with resources and tools, the keys, to enable and accelerate learning for all students. Thanks for joining me today. Let's get started. Before we get going today, I just wanted to do a quick reminder that if you have time to rate us and write us a review on Apple Podcasts, we would appreciate it. The more reviews and ratings we get, the more educators will see and hear our podcast. So if you like what you're hearing and you think others would too, please head over and provide us a review. Thanks. Welcome to episode 41 of Learning Unlocked. Today I am joined by Shawn.abele, our district's Instructional Technology Coordinator, to chat about instructional technology tools for educators for the 2022-2023 school year. Just a little bit about Shawn before we begin the interview. Shawn has been in education since 2002, teaching technology in one form or another to students pre-K through 12. She has been an instructional technology coach for 5 years and is passionate about computer science and ed tech. She participated in the Arizona Educational Technology Standards Committee and is a Google certified trainer and coach. She has presented on behalf of the Arizona Department of Education on integrating the computer science standards into curriculum and was awarded the 2021 Educator of the Year, by the Gilbert Chamber of Commerce. She also loves to cook, and all of us in the district enjoy the recipes she adds to the end of each month's technology newsletter, and we're real sad if she forgets to put a recipe in there. So welcome back to the podcast, Shawn. How are you doing
today? Thank you. I'm good. Yeah, that seems to be the best part of my newsletters. That's what keeps people reading.
You're really smart because we read the newsletter to get to the end so we can get your recipe from the newsletter.
I always kid and say that if it's something really important in the newsletter, then there will be a really good recipe at the end.
I know. It's awesome. And your recipes are good. Like I actually use them and try them. I'm like, oh, Shawn says this one's good. We're going to do this one.
Yeah, my favorite's probably the homemade tortillas, but I love a homemade tortilla.
That's awesome. That's so fun. It's a great way to get people. I got to figure out like a hook to get people to read the end of our mentor advisor newsletters. We'll have to think on that.
Well, here's another trick. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but whatever. Maybe somebody will gather some help from it. But if you put something random in the subject line, like pink penguins or something like that, then they feel like they have to open the newsletter. So There's another trick. Put something random in the subject line of an email that you must read. What do these three things have in common? Just 3 random things. And then when you open it, you say absolutely nothing. But
thank you for reading. Thank you for opening this newsletter.
So there's my tip of the day.
That is probably, I think, my top tip I'm going to take away because, man, I write a lot of newsletters lately. And I'm like, okay, please. The thing with S'more is that you can tell how many open it, which either can be a serious serotonin boost or like a major crash. Like,
this was really important, and I think I'm the only one that clicked on it.
Right? I know. I'm like, oh man, okay, that's all right. Moving on. Okay, well, last season on the podcast, we did a series through our professional growth department. It was about the district's new instructional framework rollout because we wanted to make sure we did an episode on each of the domains that are in the framework. So we did an episode on Connect, Design, Instruct, Assess, and Reflect. And I know technology services really took those domains that we had, and you guys began just to tie technology tools to each of these areas to really serve our teachers. It's super awesome, and it has created this huge matrix of tools that they can use. So I really appreciate that, and I definitely going to link it in the show notes for any teachers that don't know that exists because it's super awesome. But before we dig into any of the other tech tools for instruction that we're going to talk about today, What do you think is like that one tech tool that is super highly valuable for teachers in the classroom right now?
Um, there's so many, but I think that if I had to choose just one, which would nearly be impossible, I would probably say Google Classroom.
Okay.
Um, because with Google Classroom, every other tool can be put into it, first of all.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and it's a great way to like get your information out to students. So, I mean, you have links to send to students, or you have a document to send to students, or you have resources to send to students. You can just put them all in this one location where students can find it no matter what. So you don't have a thing over here and a thing over there and things all over the place. It's all in this one easy to access location. And we've done Google Classroom with kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. So like it's easy to use for a kindergarten student because you want to give them a link to something. You want to, I mean, even like Google Docs or Google Slides, a kindergarten student can do those. You send them a template, they open it, it creates a copy for them, saves it to, share, does all the share settings for you. I think Google Classroom would have to be my top tool.
Yeah, and I like that you put that it works with every single one of our domains.
Uh-huh.
Like for Connect, you got students and parents and guardians can all get into Google Classroom, see what's happening, see what the teachers posted for announcements, what's the assignments that are due, what are the grades and the comments that are in there.
Yep.
And then you said for design, it's like, you can provide materials and alternative assignments for groups and individuals. For that, are you talking about like, can you differentiate your assignments in your design in Google Classroom easily, like assigning different kids like modified assignments just to fit their needs?
Yes. So if you're going through your data and you find that there's a group of students that needs remediation, then you can create those documents and assign it only to those students in the class. Nobody else knows that the students got them or that they got something different. They just show up on their personal Google Classrooms. I mean, you can assign things to an entire class, but you can also assign those other things individually to students. Maybe a student is excelling and you wanted to give them enrichment opportunities, but you don't want the whole class having them because they're not ready for it. Well, you can assign those just to those kids. So it's a nice way to be able to just differentiate for your students or provide something for the entire class.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then with Instruct, providing those recorded lessons and explanations is, I think it's huge. I mean,
So
as a
important.
parent that has a teacher, my daughter's teacher records a lot of his lessons and puts them on Classroom.
Mhm.
It's so helpful as even just a resource to go back and like look at if I'm trying to help her with homework or whatever. But a lot of it's like a flipped model, which is great as well. Like where she'll look and like take notes or go over the audio or the recorded lesson, and then we'll go back into class that day and they do something with it. So really, for instruction, you can instruct through Classroom. It's not just like a holding place, right?
Right. Not only that, but if you have a student absent, if you've recorded your lesson and put it on Google Classroom, well, now the kid that was missing today has access to your whole lesson. And you're right about like as a parent. So my kids finally all graduated last year, but I can't tell you how many times they've come home and we're like, "Well, I need help with this." And I know I can help, but I haven't had a math class in, well, a very long time, let's say.
Let's not add up the years. Me either, though. I need, especially with then like we call it new math. It's been the math since 2011 or whatever.
Right.
But it's new to us still, so it's like, I need help with this. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I asked my kids, like, did you take notes? And they bring me, like, it's nothing. There's 4 sentences on a piece of paper. I'm like, baby, I cannot help you with this. So I would have loved if their teachers were providing those kind of things. Just as a parent, we could support our teachers and our kids better if we know what they're teaching.
Right. And like even speaking of notes, lately I've been really like just thinking this through and pushing this out. Just give the kids the notes, just give it to them so that they all have equal access to the same information.
Mhm. Right.
And then obviously do stuff with the notes, right? Like have them do activities and turn and talk and like annotate and go through it. But by the end of the day, we all walk out with the same thing that's posted on Classroom. So when they are going to get those helpful hints or look at what they need to remember. It's just there.
Or even like parents that realize that their students are behind and want to provide tutors, like even a tutor doesn't necessarily know what the teacher taught that
Right.
day. They're just doing their best to, like help out. But even like I love providing notes because I mean that's how we all learn as adults. We go to Google, we research it, we highlight the things that we want, and
Hmm.
and we, report back from that. So and there's a million tools online to create flashcards and all of those kind of things too. So the kids are actually using the notes that you provided.
Right. There's a bunch of ways to use the notes, and we can maybe get into that later too. I know that was like a side tangent, but man, if I could just have my kids' teachers just like give them the notes, just give it to them, and
Hmm.
have them do stuff with them, I feel like it would just be so much easier for everyone involved. Then you don't have like the kid that's like, hey, can you go back? I didn't get slide 3 or whatever. Like,
Right.
just yeah, there's different ways to do that. And then assess on Google Classroom, as far as the domains, there's different ways to like assess the students. You have choice boards, Google Forms, that are in quiz mode, and then like feedback on student submissions that they do.
Mhm.
When you're talking about choice boards and assess, are you talking about like formatively assessing them using a choice board, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, giving kids choices on how they want to demonstrate what they've learned.
Oh, okay, like performance task, like
Yeah.
assessment. Okay.
Just like kids learn differently, and one kid might not be the best writer in the world, but could tell a story exactly like verbatim what they learned. So you give them a written assignment and they're going to bomb it, but let them stand up in front of the class and talk about it and they do brilliantly, or vice versa. So just offering that choice for students to demonstrate their learning and their knowledge.
Okay. And then for reflect, which is we know is super important for students to reflect. There's a lot of tools that we can use that just like will embed in Google Classroom.
Hmm.
But I think like immediate feedback from the quizzes is huge. Like we know that kids need that immediate feedback for them to like really register it and like make change.
Right. And then with Google Forms, you can choose what the students see. So do you want them to see the correct answers when they got them wrong? Um, do you want them to just see how their overall score on that or whatever? So like the Google Form quizzes are a great way for students to have that immediate feedback. Maybe when you're like in practice or things like that, where you're testing to see what they know, so that you can be prepared to teach them something tomorrow. But then also with Google Classroom, anything that they turn in when you're grading those assignments, you have the ability to give feedback on those specific assignments. And that's so powerful to the kids rather than just a grade that says you passed. Like, here's why you passed, here's what you did right, so that they can continue to do those things right in the future. And here's where you might need a little bit more work so that they can put in the work on the things that they don't know.
Okay. What would be like your suggestion for teachers who are struggling? I mean, this is not on the list of questions,
It's fine.
but I'm just thinking to myself, balancing and turning in work through Google Classroom versus through like paper. Like there's like, I think sometimes students get confused on like where things are due. Are they due in classroom digitally? Are they due in the paper box? Teachers are grading it in classroom. Are you grading it? Like, do you have any like helpful suggestions for teachers on how to manage having both like a digital side of work plus like a paper pencil activity side of work?
Yeah, I think that goes back to clarity, right?
Right.
So clarity doesn't necessarily isn't only for your instruction, but also in your classroom procedures. So and being consistent probably too. For
Yeah.
me as a teacher, I would want it all turned in digitally, just because that's more convenient for me. I don't have to make copies. I don't have to print anything. All of that. But I know, like for some teachers, they want some things turned in. Uh, Paper and pencil and some things turned in digitally, or maybe they want it all turned in paper. If you have like some kind of a hybrid, maybe like some kind of I don't know, color coding, or you could use emojis even for something that's use this emoji if it's going to be turned in online, and this emoji if I need it in a basket, you
Yeah,
know?
I love that. It's like using that dual coding, right? So that they
Hmm.
they always are recognizing like, okay, if it has this icon, that means it's a Google Classroom turn in. And if it has this icon at the top of the whatever page, it's a paper pencil, could put it in the basket or what, pass it forward or whatever the teacher's
Yep.
procedure is.
Yep.
Okay. No, that's huge. That's a great idea. I was just trying to think through that the other day, just helping a teacher balance the two. But I love that it goes with kids, obviously, and adults. Like we all register visuals way more than we register text.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even if you think about Google, I mean, Google itself has all icons for everything. So you know what a Google Doc is, you know what
Well,
a
look at
Google
your
Slide is.
phone even. Like there's no text on the main screen of your phone or
So
tablet.
true. Yep. Okay, so that would really help, I think, everyone involved if we can just like icon and visually link all those.
Mhm. And then, like teachers, like math teachers want you to answer the questions online because it'll self-grade,
Mhm.
but they want you to turn in your work also. So maybe there's a separate icon for that. Like math is a specific one where a lot of times the teacher wants you to turn in your work so that they can see where you might have had errors or to make sure that you're doing it.
Right.
But they want the ease of having that self-graded piece through like Google Classroom. So, there might be a separate icon for I need both.
Like here's the icon for the quiz on Google Classroom, but here's the icon for, hey, put this in the basket or whatever.
Right, right.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. Okay, so we're going to go through each of the domains, and then we're just going to talk through some tools and that you or websites or even like Web 2.0 tools or whatever that you're like, yeah, I feel like this is a good one, like going into that 22 school year.
Mhm.
And we also, you guys have been super busy rolling out Benq boards. So before we even start, can you give the audience, like, I don't even know if you can, like a very short summary of what a Benq board is and does?
So we're super excited about the BenQs. It's part of our AV refresh for the district, and the BenQ it's an interactive flat panel display. That's what it technically is.
Okay.
It's like a giant tablet. So you can cast to it. They're an interactive board, so our students are up and working on the boards and moving stuff around and interacting with the device itself. But they're replacing all of our projectors, and they do so much more. Like you can get Google Docs right on there. Jamboards and slides. Like a lot of our teachers have made some Jamboards and slides so that they are interactive. And
Nice.
now you can use them at the front of the classroom with your whole class rather than just like individual students. So we're super excited about them. We're about a third of the way through the district and hope to be done. Well, we will be done by the end of the school year.
Okay. And everybody's going to have them. And I think the coolest thing I saw about it, and I want to do a training with you on it because I want to learn more, but you can just like keep swipe. I feel like you can swipe
Mm-hmm.
forever, like to get new pages or blank space to like do your teaching. Like it's not just like a smart board where you had just like a projector or whatever going to a screen and yeah, you could click on it and stuff, but it's like it literally is that whole like almost a streaming on, like I said, like you said, a tablet where you have a lot of different like flexibility with what you can do and how many pages you can have open and stuff like
Yep. So it'll switch between a projector and essentially a whiteboard. And the coolest thing about the whiteboard piece of it is, again, like you can record what you're doing and it'll record your voice as well as the screen. So when you're taking notes or when you're working out these huge math problems or like our physics classes that
that.
have
Mhm.
like these endless long formulas, it'll record while you're writing, so it's going in the order that you're showing it, and with your voice along with it. So again, like those kids that are doing homework at home or parents that are trying to help their students that are way smarter than them, they have that resource to go back to, and they go up to I think 16 pages of whiteboard.
Oh my gosh, that's like
Mhm.
amazing. That's like Screencastify 0.50 like thousand. That's
Right?
amazing.
And then they have all these other cool tools with timers, and they're like 20. You can have 20 touch inputs at once, which I don't know how you could have 20 people up at the screen at the same time, but yeah, you can. But yeah, I'd love to teach you how to use them. They're super fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some kids using them in classrooms with teachers, and I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous. How cool! What a great new piece of tech for our district. So,
And
okay, awesome.
so engaging. The kids love them. So they're super engaging to all grade levels. Even our high school kids are up working problems on a board because it's new.
Right. Yeah. And it's novelty, right? They're able to do new things with just one piece of tech,
Hmm.
which is really, it's just not as static as a projector would be. So awesome. Okay. So technology really does, as we've been talking about, have the ability to connect kids in an entirely different realm of their learning environment. We were just talking about that with the
Hmm.
Benq boards. But prior to using a new tool with students, what are some of the things teachers do need to keep in mind? Or what groundwork should they lay in order to make sure that all the students are included in that?
Right. So first of all, anytime you want to try some new tech in your classroom, check with your check it on your computer, but also check with your tech department to make sure that it is accessible to students. Um,
Okay.
so many times, like our filters are designed differently for the teacher end than they are for a student. So if you're using some sort of new technology, make sure it's going to work for the students before you roll it out to the students.
I'm so guilty of this. I
Mhm.
wanted them to use the nounproject.org
Mhm.
because I was like, they're, for dual coding. I'm like, oh, these are simple visuals that they can just like trace on their Chromebooks and like put next to their notes. And then I realized, like, nope, it was blocked. I was like,
Oftentimes
hey,
it's not blocked because there's something wrong with it. It's just
no,
blocked because nobody ever asked it to be unblocked.
unblocked, right? So,
Mhm.
like, again, you have to prep, right? Like, that's like you also have to lay some groundwork for yourself before
Right,
you roll it out with kids. Cause I was like, okay, kids, just kidding. We're going to make stick figures again. Like always, it's going to be great. But yeah, I
right.
think making sure it works on the kids with the kids' computers, but also that it just, is approved. So, yeah.
And if you have some kind of a tech coach in your district, I know that a lot of the people listening are from Gilbert, so everybody has one for their school.
Hmm.
Um, but reach out to them because chances are they've already run into the roadblocks
Right.
and will be able to help you skip them. So they'll give you the ways to just go around those roadblocks so that your kids are successful.
Okay.
And in our
Mhm.
like in our district, like it's not hard to include all students. We have enough devices for every student to have one,
Right.
so that's never an issue. Um, the things that come up most are going to be like for some of our kids' language. So our ELL students may not necessarily be able to read or understand the things that are coming through in English.
Right.
Um, or even some of our students with visual or hearing impairments might have trouble with some of those things. But again, when you reach out to your tech coaches, they have ideas to either be able to accommodate those students or other alternative things that the students could use to do the same task.
Okay. Awesome. So reach out to, we call them ties.
We call them ties.
So, but if you're in a different district, reach out to maybe some type of technology coach if you do have one, to help kind of navigate some of those things, and troubleshoot so that you can get it situated for each type of learner in the.
Yeah, and often they want to come into your classroom and help you roll it out with your students. So, take them up on that too, because it'll give you an extra set of hands, especially if it's something new to your class. Like having your in our case, your tie come in is super helpful because they are just that extra set of hands in your classroom. If you're not all that comfortable delivering it, you're comfortable with the content, but not necessarily comfortable with the technology. The tie is there to help you with that technology piece and just collaborate with you.
Yeah, and when we're, if we're thinking about kids, we want to start a new tool. We're excited about it, but we're a little bit afraid, um,
Hmm.
to do it. But it's such a great way to engage and connect with kids is using these tech tools.
Yep.
We use it and it tanks.
Yep. And it happens. It happens.
Okay.
But what a great teachable moment for kids. Like things are not always going to work out. And we might have the best plan in the world and we might have prepared everything and tried everything that we could to make sure that this was going to be successful. And it wasn't.
Right.
So, do you overreact and show your kids that technology is terrible and we can't be trusted and we're just going to go back to paper and pencil? Or are you just like, well, that was a disaster, but I have a backup plan. So let's just move on to this and we'll try that again later or we'll look into see what happened. But they're able to see how you work under pressure because that's
Mhm.
a high pressure, high stress situation.
Right.
You laugh it off and just go with it. and have your backup plan, obviously, because we all need a backup plan for everything. But it's a good teachable moment for our kids to see, like, okay, it's not the end of the world. We're going to go on and we'll come back to this at another time.
Yeah, it's great for, I think, kids to see teachers in those vulnerable moments of like, you guys, I really did plan for this to go a certain way and it just hasn't. And I think also what we sometimes forget is it's kind of twofold. Sometimes when we totally tank, there's like two kids in the room that can fix it.
Right.
Like, be like, hey, does anybody know why this isn't, like, could we figure out why this isn't working? Obviously don't let that go on for too long, but there might be kids that be like, oh yeah, you just got it. Like, I remember we did documentaries. I had my students create documentaries, and a bunch of them used our computers, but like two of them were using their MacBooks. And I was like, so I went to go play it on my computer and it wouldn't play for some reason because of the Mac HPs, like all the different things. And so I'm like, I don't know how to make this play. And the kids were like, oh yeah, you just got it. And like, they just like whipped out some cords and plugged it in. And then we like were off and running and they got to do their presentation. It was no big deal. On the other side of that, I do feel like sometimes we take for granted. We think these kids have like all the technology in the world, and they don't. They don't have some of that basic like computer skills that we think that they should have. They have a lot of like tablet skills and like app skills, but not necessarily like formatting and getting to certain places and like putting things in file folders and organizing their computer.
Right.
So there's kind of both sides to that. So connecting with kids with tech, is also showing them like, hey, here's this new cool tool. Also, by the way, here's some other tips on how to organize your
Google Drive.
Your Google Drive, so you can kind of do both because those are life skills the kiddos need too.
I'm going to jump back to when you were just talking about the kids that can troubleshoot your problems too when you're struggling in the classroom.
Yeah.
And especially when we're talking about the Connect domain, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what a great opportunity to have that interpersonal relationship or develop one with a student that might otherwise, you might not otherwise have had that interaction with had you not had these problems with your technology.
True. It was true. I mean, it was so true. It was that kid that was like, I got this. Like, I understand how to fix this. And I'm like, thank you. I'm so happy that you did.
Right. So he feels empowered.
Yeah.
And then that relationship develops with that kid. So now you've built a little bit more trust with this student, knowing that he can help you with that. And he knows that you trust him. Like, it's a cool way to build technology is a great way to build those relationships with some of the kids that you might not otherwise reach.
Yeah, it's not always about the tools. It's about sometimes like the tool's not working and how can we troubleshoot that and problem solve together. So
yeah, see what I mean? How there's not just one tool that works for all this. Like, technology is the tool. Like,
technology is the thing, right?
Yeah, it's the thing that it's just all encompassing of all these things. So yeah, I'm excited about this topic. Maybe I hope you could tell.
Well, I would hope that you are. You're the coordinator of the technology.
Spent my whole life in tech, so.
And it's exciting because we really are blessed to have each kid with tech in their hands. And now we've got these awesome Benq boards going into the campuses and into the classrooms. And so just, and we've got the ties to help and reach out. So like, we really can bring these kids forward into like their future jobs with technology as we kind of go through. So it is really exciting. So when we talk about design, the design domain, it has three concepts to it: it's learning expectations, and then lesson design, and then instructional strategies. So while we know there are like many, many, many tech tools a teacher can use with design, what would you suggest that they maybe go to first, or like what immediately comes to mind as like a place they should go for these design concepts as a teacher?
So when you're thinking about these design concepts, it's so incredibly broad and all over the place. So learning expectations, it goes along with standards and priority standards and all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
We're talking about lesson design. Well, what kind of lesson are you designing, and who are you designing it for? And
right.
What is the ultimate goal of this lesson? And then you talk about strategies, and Oh my gosh, there's just so many, again, that apply to all different situations. Are
Right.
we
And how do you pick the right one for the right standard for the right task? Yeah.
right? So are we learning to spell today, or are we having a spelling test? Or you know what I'm saying? So like the design domain is so all encompassing that my very first go-to would be Google.
Yeah.
Like, what am I trying to do? I'm just going to Google it first. Um, and in our district, we're pretty lucky because we have one place where a lot of this stuff is all is all put, and that's the hub. And I don't even
Mhm.
know that a lot of our teachers even know about the hub. Um, but from our portal, you go right to the hub, and you can get links to all of the priority standards, so they're all right there, and your curriculum maps and all the curriculum. There's links to the instructional framework there from professional growth. There's links to the instructional tech tools. So in our case, I'd probably start at the hub. I'd probably still start with Google, Britt. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely when you're looking at, I would probably, I would probably go backwards. I would go hub for my priority standards, so I would
Right.
know what I was doing,
Yep.
and then I would Google,
Yep.
and then I would be like, okay, I didn't, and then I would probably go to like, okay, here's what I got, my priority standards. Here's what I have for my curriculum. Okay, what does Google have to offer? Because there may be something out there that like I haven't thought of that
Hmm.
somebody else has already created. And like as teachers, we just have to stop recreating the wheel. Like we just
Right.
have to.
Right.
So like I would think I would do that. And then if I didn't find anything that I thought was like fit my kids, then I probably would pop back and be like, okay, I know PGD has some strategies. Let's see what they've got. Let's see what the tech tools got. And like by that point, you really do have a wealth of information to try to create a good solid lesson and a good
Yep.
solid lesson design just by popping into a lot of different websites. I will like, and I don't know how you feel about this, Shawn, but I'm gonna like just say it right now that teachers pay teachers is like one of those things where it's like there's amazing stuff on there, and then there's some stuff on there that I like literally I'm like, why? No.
Right. Yeah, and it's so hard to I go to Teachers Pay Teachers for ideas sometimes, but I'm personally not going to pay a teacher to to do the things that I already know I can do. Like all of those things are made in Google Slides. I know how to do Google Slides, so I'm just going
Right.
to use myself.
So I feel like, okay, that's perfect because I feel like I do the same thing where I'll be like on Pinterest or something and be like, ooh, I like that idea. But I always am like, but I can do that. And I can do it for my kids, for my purpose, for my standards, like a little bit differently.
Right.
So I feel like just like when we buy that stuff and it's pre-made, it sometimes doesn't really fit with what we're trying to accomplish, and a lot of times then it kind of feels disconnected, and I think it feels disconnected for the
Forced.
kids. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think a lot of people go to Teachers Pay Teachers for two reasons. One, it's quick, so you
Oh
can get
yeah.
it. You can get 100 slide deck in $5, or they don't know how to do it.
Mm,
So those people, if you're looking for a quick answer, well, I can't fix that for you. But if it's because you see these and they're amazing and you're like, I just don't know how to do it, well, reach out to somebody that does. Because, like I said, in our district, all of the ties would sit down with you and teach you how to make those yourself and save you probably thousands in the end. At least hundreds. I know people are spending hundreds of dollars on Teachers Pay Teachers.
great.
And it's just a matter of sitting down for free with somebody that knows how to show you how to do it, because it's not that hard and anybody can do it.
Yeah, we've got instructional coaches too. So if you
Yeah.
can get a tie to teach you how to do the tech side of stuff and how to make, because I think a lot of it's like, wow, that's really cute and it's got great fonts and it's like, super organized and it looks good. Like a tie can sit down and easily help you get it
Mhm.
to look whatever the way it is that you want to look. And then your instructional coach can come in and help you figure out what the strategy should look like and what's the active experience or the learning that can go with it. So really,
Exactly.
just reach out to your people,
Right.
and like you probably would make something 10 times better.
Right. And I'm so glad that you made that connection too, between the ties and the instructional coaches. I speak of the ties just because it's out of habit and it just flows out of
Yeah.
my with the addition of our instructional coaches this year, like it has been a main focus of our group of the technology side to make sure that we're collaborating with the coaches. Like this is a partnership to make our to help our teachers and to ultimately help our students. So I'm glad that you made that little connection too, because we think it is just as important as the instructional coaches do that we're collaborating with each other.
Yeah, because it all just really helps teachers. Or the whole point is to make the teachers' lives a little bit easier, so
Hmm.
but also to really make some quality stuff for our students.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to move on to instruct. So the domain has three concepts. It's teacher clarity, which is a huge concept, and really a huge like culture shift brain wise for a lot of
Hmm.
people. So like, woo, it's big. But then we've got intentional instruction. So really just making sure that your instruction has that intentionality to it. And then how do you engage those kiddos is
Right.
really important. So it's obvious in the description of the domain that technology has the ability to like launch engagement to the next level in the classroom, especially with all the like tools that we have at our disposal. But what are your personal favorite? And I'm trying to limit you, and I know I'm so sorry to do this to you.
I know
I know it's painful, but
it is.
I'm just thinking if they're driving in their car and they're listening, like what can they go find? What are like three tools that are really easy that teachers can implement
Okay.
that provide like that high engagement?
All right. I'm gonna start with the BenQ. And
Okay.
that's really going to be, or whatever, if you're in a district with interactive flat panel displays, whatever
Mhm.
yours is. Ours is BenQ here in our district. They are probably currently, for at least this year, they're going to be one of the most engaging things for our students because they're new and they're familiar to kids because they do work much like their phones and tablets. Um, and there's so many things that you can do on them that are engaging to kids. The kids can get up there and write on them. They can get up there and do activities with Jamboards. The BenQ is for engagement. So anything that you can do on the BenQ. And that automatically makes it engaging to students. So there's number one. Number two, I'm going to go
Okay.
with Padlet because I like Padlet so much. Because again, it's useful for a number of different
Okay.
things. You can do it for assessment. You can do it to find out like where students are at or what they want to learn, or the students can provide feedback to each other. So it kind of hits all of those things, and they can be anonymous on that, which is nice too. So students don't feel like
Mhm.
they're standing out in the middle of something, so they can be engaged without having to be identified, which is kind of like it's nice for those kids that are more introverted, you know?
Right.
And then I think if I'm going to go for the third one, I'm going to go with Canva.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm going to go with robots.
Okay. I was kind of hoping you were going to go with either robots or classroomscreen.com. Can you just do both?
Okay, well, you limited me to three, so I was
I know, but now I'm real curious about classroomscreen.com.
okay. Well, anytime anytime you bring robots into a classroom, students are immediately curious. And when we bring robots in, we don't bring them in to play with. We connect them to the curriculum somehow. So robots are super engaging. Like we have students retelling stories with robots, or calculating average with robots. So they get to program the robots and then gather data and then do the things that they're supposed to do. So robots, super engaging tool in the classroom.
What kind if I'm a teacher and maybe I have a grant or a PTO or something, what's like is there like a brand of robots? Like what
Yeah, there's a lot of different ones, and depending on your grade level
okay.
and like what you want to do with them. So there's different ones in our district. Honestly, like reach out to your tie,
Okay.
and they'll have the best suggestions for you or for your school.
Okay.
Um, in other districts, I mean, like you can email me. I'm happy to happy to give you information about our library of robots.
Okay.
But yeah, it's going to vary, but depending on what the teachers want to do and what their grade levels are.
I like that we have a library of robots. That makes
Hmm.
me super excited.
Super cool.
Do you guys have Botley? I've heard Botley is like the new
So we do have Botley. Botley's really good for your early L K12.
one
Um,
too. Okay.
but so they're programmed on a remote control. I personally like the ones that are programmed online. So
Okay.
they're learning programming languages
Nice. Okay.
along with the curriculum that we're connecting it to. So it's like this huge learning experience for the kids where they're actually reviewing or learning some of their lessons and learning to code at the same time. So that makes my silly computer science heart just flutter.
Well, and that's gonna, I mean, we were talking about engagement with instruction. You've now connected your priority standards and your lesson design to a robot. The
Uh-huh.
kids are gonna be like, yes, please.
And it's practical application of the things that they're learning in class.
Yeah, I love that.
Yep.
Okay, and then classroomscreen.com, real quick, because I just need to know.
Yep. Classroomscreen.com is it's just a website, but it has all of these different tools in it. So it has timers. It has like red, yellow, green lights for
Ooh.
sound. It has all the little widgets that you would use from 50 separate websites are all put into this one website, classroomscreen.com. Now, I'm not paid by Classroom Screen, but
This podcast is not sponsored by classroomscreen.com. But okay, so when I was in the classroom, I had on my bookmarks bar
Mhm.
a website for timers, a website for noise levels, a website for, when kids were ready to share. This is basically kind of taking all those things and putting it in one-stop shop.
on one place.
Okay, that's super cool. Okay, and then the other ones that I didn't let you get to, I will put into the comments in the show notes, and so people can explore if they want to.
So that one, I just pulled it up because I couldn't remember all the things off the top of my head. But it's got a clock, a timer, sound levels. You can change the background if you want a pretty image, a random name chooser, a polling option. So
Awesome.
yeah, all kinds of stuff. All of the things that you would want in your classroom on one little page. So it's nice for teachers. And then there's more options too. So you can find more widgets.
But even the random, like the random chooser, like we try to push random calling so often with,
Right.
in our department so that kids are, having that opportunity to, respond. How easy is it? I'm totally going to use this in my next PD training. I'm so excited.
Good.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Number 4 in our domains is assess. So assessing, so balanced assessment. We talk about learning targets and success criteria is really a big push right now.
Mhm.
And then we're going to get hopefully to that feedback cycle.
Yep.
So we know that feedback is really important for student growth. Like John Hattie says that the feedback that students give us is actually, as teachers, is actually more important than the feedback that teachers give students.
Yep.
Is there a tool though that really does help teachers give feedback with more efficiency? Like I still am seeing a lot of teachers just, writing and typing so much feedback for these to give back to students, which is great, but it's just so time consuming. Is there something that's a little bit more efficient?
It is super time consuming. And especially when you get up into at the high school level, when teachers have 150 kids.
Yeah.
So you talk about your English classes that they're turning in reports that are 8 pages long for 150 kids. Like you don't even have there isn't enough time in the year to give proper feedback on that if you're writing it or typing it.
Well, and we need immediate feedback on top of it, right? Kids
Right.
respond best when you can get it back to them quickly. And then so it's just this really stressful situation. So I'm like, there's gotta be tech tools out there that can make this more efficient for teachers.
Yeah, so there's a few. One of them is called Mote, 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 and it's an extension that allows you to do voice comments. So it'll put voice comments in on your like a Google Doc or whatever it is whatever program that you're in. And what I think is powerful about that is, first of all, the student can hear your tone when you're speaking. So a lot of times when you're doing a typed or a written comment, but like if your kids can hear your tone and you're like, wow, you did a really good job on this, you could make it better by whatever.
Yeah.
Or I think you kind of missed the mark here. We were talking about this and you went off talking about something completely different. So maybe let's just bring our focus in. You're looking at math problems and you want to say you were doing fine up until line 3 where you swapped the 4 and the 8 or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? And you can actually talk to the kids and they listen better than they read.
Yes.
So when they're reading something, they're going to skim through it if they even go back to it and read it.
Right.
But like they'd rather listen to your voice or watch a video. Like there's Screencastify is going to work perfect for that too. You can Screencastify while you're grading paper.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
If you have their assignment up, be it, whatever assignment it is, if it's a slideshow or whatever it is, if you have their assignment up on your screen and you're screencastifying, then you can talk about it as you're grading it.
Right.
And then you just give the kid the video of you grading their paper. And like, how powerful is that to a kid to see, first of all, like, I actually looked at your entire paper that you wrote.
Yeah, right. It gives you a lot of credibility too.
Yeah. And then second, they're able to see your grading process.
They're actually like hearing you think through, like it's your thought process on why you're thinking these are the things that they maybe missed the mark on. And these are the things that you were like, oh my gosh, I super enjoyed this part of it.
Yep. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Like, because kids, all they get is the 3 out of 7
Right.
F. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
When really, like, you're going through it and you're like, oh my gosh, buddy, you almost had this. You're so close. Like, all you need to do is do this step before this step. And that's so much more powerful than 3 out of 7 F.
And you know what? So Screencastify, I am verbose. So what would you suggest, like, for if you were grading through Screencastify, like how long would you suggest a video be, like, for kids? Like were they until they would like kind of check out?
It's hard for me, like me personally, anytime I see a video, I first check to see how long it is.
Me too. So I'm wondering, like, okay, I'm a kid in 5th grade and my teacher just sent me like a 20-minute video of them grading. I'm like, oh my gosh.
2 minutes.
How many minutes?
2.
Okay. So like 2 to 3 minutes. Like that's it?
Like I'm 1.5 to 2 minutes is my total attention span.
Okay, I love that because I feel like I'm I totally over talk. I mean, maybe that's why I run a podcast. I don't know. But I feel like I would be like, oh, and this and this and this. So maybe as a teacher, kind of in your brain, before you start that screencast, you've kind of looked over the paper, get your kind of talking points down. So that way you can really make those quick feedback videos so that you can get them back to them faster.
Yeah, you'll lose them after 2 minutes because they've looked to see how long it is. And then they'll just, if it's 5 or 7 minutes, they're not even going to bother. Or they'll fast forward through. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Okay. See, I just wanted to make sure we made that comment because I think there will be a lot that be like, that's a great idea. And then like 10 minutes later, and I'm like, I don't know if that's saving you time and efficiency.
Right. Right.
All right. And then the last thing is you just said comments in Google, right? Just like that highlighting and putting those comments in.
Yeah. Like it's easy and quick and effective. Like they're all right there and the students can open it up and watch you grade. Like they could be on the same document that you are. So like, as far as immediate, it's happening in real time.
Yeah.
The other thing for immediate, like if you needed immediate, back to like your Google quizzes and stuff like that'll give you an answer. Like, yes, you got this correct.
Yeah. And I remember it was so funny when I would jump into their document and all of a sudden, like the kids would be like, oh, she's in there. Like, and I just start making comments and it was just so fun to see their reactions. Like it was like real time. Like I would just be at my computer popping into each group's little like paragraph that they were working on and just commenting and editing in real time with them. And they loved it. Like it was super engaging because as soon as they saw my little icon pop up all of a sudden and I started highlighting, it was like with bated breath, like, what is she going to say? Like, you know what I mean? And it just was a great way. Like it was something that you don't even have to do after the fact. Like you do it as your lesson, like as part of a lesson.
Well, and if you think about how we function as adults, like that's what we do. I mean,
yes,
down to the document that you sent me before this, like we didn't have a conversation about it. We commented back and forth until we were ready to complete the task. Like that's what students should be doing too, so that they're having real world experience in this. So that's why I like the comment thing in Google for feedback also.
Okay. Love it. All right. Our last domain is reflect. So learning reflection, teacher reflection, and then obviously like a PLC team reflection.
Mhm.
So learner reflection, so critical for student learning for so many reasons. But one of those that's really important is we really want them to be able to see their own learning journey and their own progression of growth. So what are some tools that can help students really see their own learning growth? Because it's so important to their self-concept for them to see that they are moving forward.
Right. I think that that the learner's reflection is even more important than a teacher's feedback.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, it's really important for them to be able to really look back and see what's going on with their own personal learning. Yeah.
Well, and be mindful about it too, because a student can look at it and say, "Yeah, I know I didn't do my best work on this."
Hmm.
Or the teacher looks at it and is like, "Man, are you struggling?" No, I didn't do my best work.
Right.
So I think that it's probably one of the most important of all of these domains for kids is to be able to look at their own work and critically evaluate how they've done on something and see their growth, like you were saying. And the easiest way, I think one of the easiest things to do this with would be Google Slides.
Okay.
You could take screenshots of things or whatever and put them together in a Google slide deck that the kids can reflect over throughout the year. And kids know how to, at all grade levels, know how to use Google Slides. I mean, we can teach we've done it with our kinder first graders. You can provide templates through your Google Classroom, and then they just start filling things in of their of their best work, and or in our older grades making portfolios
Yeah.
in a Google site. So then you just link to the documents that you created right to a Google site. So I would say like probably third, fourth grade up could probably do Google sites without any trouble at all. And then they're able to go back to it. You can also like those could be shared with parents so that the parents could see those things too. And then at the like at the end of the day, they could have a set if you're talking about like an elementary school and it was something that you wanted to take on. Well, fourth grade could have their fourth grade page. Fifth grade, you could just create a new page for each grade level,
Yeah.
and then you'd be able to see your process or your progress over time.
That would be really cool. Yeah, you could see your growth, your portfolio. Because, I always wanted to do portfolios with students and have them passed up through the grade levels. And it just became so much bulk of binders. But
Right.
now with like all of our tech, we can do that. And it with just a click of a share button and they just go.
Yep.
So I think that's great. And actually, I never even thought to do a Google Slide portfolio. That's brilliant. Like just snippet it and you could even comment in there. They could even do some reflection in the notes section of the Google Slide.
And it's so easy. And then the kids have it for the whole year. They just go to the same one and
Right.
in there every time.
And you can have a little icon on your Google Classroom that's for reflection and they just pop in there and they go into the reflection.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay.
And then I think I mentioned too that like recently we started using Screencastify with students.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our SIP goals relate to ELA, and one of the ties had third graders doing Screencastifies where they're reading. They choose a book, any book that they want, and they read into Screencastify. So when they're done reading the book, then they rate themselves based on a rubric. So they play back their screencast, and then they rate themselves based on the rubric. And the teacher watches it later for word count or whatever it is.
Right, like fluency or whatever they were doing with it. Yeah.
And then the next week, they read the same book and on Screencastify and rate themselves again, like rank themselves based on that rubric. So they're able to physically watch themselves read. Like, how cool is that?
Super cool. And they're able to hear themselves read.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know
Yep.
that sounds weird, but like when I'm reading on something out loud to somebody else, I don't
Mm-hmm.
comprehend it all the time. I'm just reading it for effect of reading it out loud. But
Yep.
if I was listening to myself read it, I would be able to maybe comprehend it. I mean, I think that's why I love audiobooks so much.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So just another cool. It's just something that we recently did, and it worked out really well. And so I just wanted to throw it out there because it was cool.
No, that's awesome. Because teachers will grab that and be like, "Oh yeah, let's try that." That's something to do that will help our kids with their fluency and word count and just practicing reading out loud with yourself and not always in front of a group.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. All right. Rapid fire. Are you ready?
I think so.
It's early on a Thursday. Here we go. Okay.
Right.
Education is, and you're going to fill in the blank. So education
Challenging.
is, what did you say?
Challenging.
Challenging.
But that's not always a bad thing. Challenges are often good.
Yeah. I think without challenge, we wouldn't have anything, we wouldn't progress. So
Mm-hmm.
have to have that challenge. Okay. Who or what inspires you?
I would have to say the students.
Okay.
Like if it weren't for them, it's funny when I was a teacher, I would always tell I taught high school. So let's put this in perspective a little bit, but I would always tell the kids like, this job would be so much easier without you.
Oh my gosh. I can see myself saying that too.
But like truly that if they're not inspiring you, then we don't even have a job. So definitely.
Well, and what's so funny is as soon as I was, out of the classroom, people would ask me, like, what do you miss about it? And I'm like, well, it's not grading. I definitely don't miss the grading, but man, I miss those kids.
Yep.
They just were like, they just weren't jaded about life yet. Like they just had this like little zest and they were funny and they just made my day, So yeah, I definitely, the students is always like, even when I'm creating PDs for teachers,
Yep.
The goal is that what I'm giving you is going to get to them, right? They're the priority.
Yeah.
So, all right. What is one piece of teaching advice that is either so bad you have to warn us or so amazing that you have to tell us?
So amazing. So amazing.
Okay.
And I put it on the end of everything I tweet. I put it on the end of my newsletters. I put it on everything. Hashtag reach out to your tie.
Okay. Yep.
Hashtag reach out to your tie. We have such an amazing team here that can help in so many ways. It's unbelievable. So my so amazing teaching advice, hashtag reach out to your tie.
Okay. Reach out to your tie and they'll help you make it happen.
Yep.
Okay. What is your must-have smartphone app?
Amazon. That's it. I don't even have apps on my phone. Like I really don't. Because all I use on my phone is my text message, my camera. Like if it weren't for my camera, if I weren't for a camera, I'd have a flip phone. But I'm all Amazon. I have to have Amazon, and maybe my Fitbit.
Your Fitbit, Amazon. I know. It's so funny. When you said that, I was like, man, they rule my life. Like they really do. Like if I need something the first place I'm going to go is Amazon. Yep. I mean, they really have ingrained that in me.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to go to a store ever. So Amazon it is.
Amazon it is. Okay. And then the last question, what song do you know all the lyrics to?
Any 80s hair band, anyone. I could bust out the lyrics to any 80s hair band. My favorite, we have anytime Poison comes on in the car, mandatory Poison karaoke. My husband
I love it.
Thinks it's ridiculous. And I always he thinks it's dumb, but I always tell him one day you'll hear Poison and you'll miss me. So
you will. You've created core memories.
Yeah. So 80s hair bands. Don't ask me to bust them out now, but if you're ever in the
I'm
car
not
with
going
me,
to, I promise.
If you're ever in the car with me, I'll totally karaoke for you.
Okay, awesome. I love it. Well, thanks so much for coming on and talking about some instructional tools today, especially in line with our framework that we rolled out last year. We're really trying to make sure that we keep reminding teachers and students and everyone that is there and that we're trying to get those 5 domains really just woven into everything we do, just to really impact students and enhance their experience in our schools. So I really, really appreciate you coming on today.
Not a problem, Britt. It's always fun to chat with you.
All right. Well, have a good one.
Thanks, friend. You too.
Thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Learning Unlocked and finding out more about instructional tech tools for 22. If you've listened today as a GPS educator, you can receive PD recertification credit by visiting our Employee Hub page and navigating to Professional Growth and then to the PGD Learning Unlocked page. Just a reminder that we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GPS Prof Growth. That's at GPS PROF GROWTH. For more information or resources from this episode, please visit our website at learningunlocked.libsyn.com/website. We are distributed by Libsyn to Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Audible. Episodes are also available on our PGD YouTube channel under playlists. Our intro and outro music are licensed from Melody Loops. Thanks again, key holders. Keep unlocking curiosity, creativity, and innovation with your students. Stay kind and courageous, and I'll see you next time.